The consonant Hamza, which is written like this, is basically a glottal stop, which means that you stop the air in the glottis and then release it. It's kind of like when you say uh-oh in English. In fact, when you pronounce any vowel in English, you are actually pronouncing this consonant before making the vowel. Think about it. A, O, when you say up, right? Ahead, right? You're blocking the air and then making the vowel. Well, in Arabic, we do the same, but we write this consonant. We actually write this glottal stop. You can actually find a Hamza with 0 vowel on it, with a sukoon on it, and it will be pronounced with no vowel. We have words like ra'as, where you have this in the middle, and ra'as means head. Ka'as means cup. Ka'as. Hamza is one of those additional symbols that we saw at the beginning of this course. Do you recognize it from the title of this lesson? Yes, it's this right here. You see? We saw it in the title as this here, but it can also be written on an alif, on a waw, and on a ya. When it goes on the ya, notice the dots of the ya disappear. So Hamza can be written on the line. Of course, our line is right here. Remember, Alif is written on top of the line. The waw has the circle above the line. And there is the ya. So it can be written on the line, like here, on an alif. You see, if it has a fatha on it, a short a, the Hamza is written on top of the alif. If it's followed by a dhamma, a short u, the Hamza is written above the alif. And if it has a short e, the Hamza is written under the alif. Or you can also write your short e right here, keeping the Hamza on top of the alif. And of course, it can also go on a waw or on a ya. Now you're wondering, how do I write it? Where do I write it? Well, Hamza is a letter that requires knowing some orthographic rules. I'll tell you one of those rules today, and that is that Hamza, when it's at the beginning of the word, has to go on top of an alif. Of course, if it's followed by a short e, then it goes under the alif. It can also go above the alif, and the e would go under the Hamza. So can you read these words? You can pause, try to read, and then hear my reading. Ab, ukht, ibhath, u, e. And you're probably wondering why I didn't write a. Well, a we will see in another lesson. Can you try to see what these words say and what the English translation is for these words? I know you don't know all the letters, but you will be able to guess from knowing most of the letters. Okay, so let's try to read together. So we have in English Iran, Europe, and Ukraine. So this reads Europa, that's Europe. Again, you can pause and then try and then listen, okay? Number 2 says Iran, and that would be Iran. And then number 3 says Ukraina for Ukraine. You don't know the letter kaf and you don't know the letter nun, but from looking at this here in English, you can tell this can only be Ukraine. Notice that we have added long vowels. You're probably wondering, why don't we just put a short U here for Ukraine, and why don't we just put a short A here and a short A here? Well, that's because when we have a foreign word, we cannot guess the vowels. So we have to add long vowels so we can actually see them and then read them.
Alif Madda. We already know this. We know that if we want a long U at the beginning of a word, we need to write the long U preceded by Alif and Hamza as an anchor for the long U, as in Europa. And if we want to write a long E at the beginning of a word, we cannot just write the long E. We need to have an Alif with a Hamza to carry the long E, as in Iran. Remember that if you do not write the Alif and Hamza before these long vowels at the beginning of the word, they are in fact a W and a Y.
So logically, we would write an Alif and Hamza followed by a long A in order to make A at the beginning of a word. However, that is not how we write A. This is how we write A. Alif Madda. A. And let's see it in some words. Can you read these words? Yes. Ab. This means August in Arabic. Ab. And this word here is Asia. Asia. And that's the continent of Asia. When Hamza goes on any of these three long vowels, they stop being long vowels and they become what we call kursi al-Hamza, the chair for the Hamza. Also, when Hamza goes on the letter Ya, the Ya loses its dots. The dots disappear. Hamza ala alif, Hamza ala waw, Hamza ala ya. No dots here. When writing Hamza in the middle or the end of a word, you have to take into consideration the preceding and following vowels. And there is a hierarchy between the vowels. The most important and strongest is the E, then comes the U, then comes the A, then comes the sukun. So it's in this direction. The strongest is the E and the weakest is the sukun. And let's see how this works. If the Hamza is preceded or followed by a short or long vowel E, a kasra or a ya, it has to be written on a ya. So for example, the word bi'r here has a Hamza which is preceded by a short E and followed by a sukun. And what is stronger? The kasra, of course. The E is stronger than the sukun. In the word ra'is, we have a Hamza that is preceded by fatha, a, short A, and followed by a long E. Again, the E is stronger than the A, so the Hamza has to be written on a ya, which is the representative of the vowel E. In the word bi'a, the Hamza is preceded by an E, a long E, and followed by a short A. Remember, ta marbuta is always preceded by a short A. There's no need to write it. You know it's there. And so it's written on a ya. And of course, remember, the ya loses its dots once the Hamza goes on it. The word ri'a has Hamza that's preceded by a short E followed by a short A, and E is stronger than Fatha. Kasra is stronger than Fatha. So it has to be written on a ya without dots. The word bi'r means a well, like an oil well or a water well. Ra'is means president. Bi'a means environment. And ri'a means lung. When Hamza is in middle or final position, preceded or followed by a short or long U, and there is no E around, it has to be written on a vowel. So in the word bu's, for example, it's preceded by U followed by sukun, and U is stronger than sukun according to the chart we saw earlier, so it has to be written on a vowel. Ru'asa, in ru'asa, the Hamza here is preceded by U followed by A, so it has to be written on a vowel because U is stronger than A. Bu'ra, in Bu'ra, the Hamza is preceded by U followed by sukun. U is stronger, the Hamza goes on the vowel. Da'ub, in Da'ub, the Hamza is preceded by A followed by a long U, so it also goes on vowel. By the way, length does not matter. It's basically the vowel. If we had, for example, here, if we had a long A before and a short U after, the U would still be stronger. The word bu's means misery. Make sure you pronounce this Hamza because otherwise you'll be saying kissing instead of misery. This Hamza makes a big difference here. Ru'asa means presidents, is the plural of Ra'is. Bu'ra is the epicenter. Da'ub means diligent. Hamza in middle or final position, preceded or followed by a short or long A, and there is no E or U around, will be written on an Alif. So, for example, the word ba's here is preceded by A followed by sukun. A is stronger, so it goes on the Alif. Ra's, the same thing. Ra'asa, in Ra'asa, the Hamza here is preceded by Fatha followed by Fatha. So it has A on both sides. A. Ra'asa. So it goes on Alif. Da'aba. Oh, I forgot the Fatha here. Let me add it. Da'aba is to be diligent. This is the verb. We saw da'ub earlier, that was the adjective, and this is to be diligent, the verb. Da'aba. So ba's is something bad. Ra's is head. Ra'asa is to be the head of something. And then da'aba is to be diligent. And here's the text we will be able to read and write by the end of this 40 lesson course. Let's look at it with vowels and discover our Hamzas. So let's look at the first line here. Do we see any Hamza here? Yes, we have one right here. And how do you read that? Is it A, U, or E? Yes, it's E. We have another one here, and that's A. Line 2. We have one right here, and that's A. How about here? That's U. This squiggly thing here we'll discover later. Okay, nothing else here. Let's move to the next line, line 3. We have one here. Can you read it? Yes, it says A. And then remember, you can always pause the video, try to find them, and then check. It says here A also. And we have another one here, another A. And then line 5, we have A here, and again here. And we don't have any examples of Hamza on wow or ya, but you know how that works. Oh, actually in line 4 we forgot one. I forgot one, maybe you didn't. There is one right here. It's preceded by a long vowel, so it goes on the line.